Hi, I'm Alex Sharko, Chief Operations in Archer, and this is our new webinar. We do them quite frequently, so if you would want, you can check our website to see more. Today we'll talk a bit about the fact that right now most of the businesses are actually this or that way are digital. So they may be focused in the real life sector, they may be focused in some digital services, but it doesn't mean they actually the development companies. So a lot of the businesses related with the software development kind of as a side effect of their main work. And specifically building the development process in the right way and overcoming the challenges that this nature of the digitalization may cause in your main business is quite a challenge. And let's talk about a few cases how these challenges may be solved. We'll talk about three cases as usually. The first one will be about the value of the business analysis, not just in the beginning of the project, but actually along the whole life story of the development, technological development, and how it can enable much more opportunities than original scope had. So we'll work a lot with the companies that has this certain idea and certain focus. But as any business, they do have the challenges in terms of generating more revenue or actually optimizing the costs and etc. And the smart and experienced business analyst would actually start there. That's exactly what we did for one of our clients, and we started exploring with them with the question like, what are the opportunities to actually optimize the costs or increase the revenue? What can we do? What can the business do? What is the need that can be fulfilled to solve one of these problems? And we're in this particular case, we're talking about the system that supports the telematics data gathering and driving score measurement and driver's evaluation system for the client that was managing the network of the public buses and commercial fleet. And one of the big challenges they had as any transportation company, and one of the biggest cost expenditures was for the fuel consumption. Obviously having a big fleet means you actually consume a lot of fuel, and this is one of the big kind of expenditure in the economy of every kind of fleet managing company. And the same was here. So we started moving further and we started asking questions. So what is the means to optimize? Where are the biggest bottlenecks? What is the biggest kind of like consumption points? And the truth was that the company actually never got the data. So definitely they were fulfilling the balance of the fuel number they spend versus the fleet size, but they never measured what is the consumption dynamics, what is the points of their business flow and the supply chain where the fuel is actually used kind of wasted the most. So obviously the next step we proposed is actually to start monitoring this, to start getting the data, because we can do this in addition to those telematics gathering that we already have been doing for them. And we proposed that let's start seeing like where you do the consumption and where the consumption is the biggest. And there were a few kind of dependency on the fleet and the weather of the season, but what actually jumped into us when we started analyzing this data after the implementation of this monitoring is that there is a lot of consumption during the idle period, so in the period when the fleet is actually not moving, like not completely, but some of the vehicles or even more. So and if you take a big fleet, the idle consumption is a huge cost. And you definitely want to optimize this, but without certain tools that are able to be integrated to your flow, you cannot do this optimization, because the idle is some natural behavior of the vehicle, some natural behavior of the driver, and you cannot kind of avoid it completely. But what to optimize, where to do the optimization, and that was the target for analysis. We started together with the business analysis team, and by the end of the day, after a certain kind of number of integrations and monitoring sessions, we saw that there was a period of time when the driver, or especially was about the public transportation, when in a cold period of time the driver was keeping up the engine running during the idle period while he was on a pause between the routes, or when he was having some rest, just to keep the vehicle warm, just not to overcold it while it's in a garage, while it's actually completely against of the regulations of this kind of security and fire requirements, and it is also damaging a lot the economy of the fleet. But obviously for the driver, it doesn't look like this. So it does look like a cold vehicle in the middle of the winter that he had to jump after the pause before the route. So he was keeping the engine running. And there were no, obviously, having a big fleet, there is no ability by just manual resources or just communication to avoid this completely. You can do this only with the automated systems, like for example ours, the one that we built for them. And so we built a pretty reasonable set of algorithms that were monitoring the situations when the idle is not kind of having the reasonable background behind it, and we started alerting the driver himself, and then if the idle consumption is not stopped, then his manager. Just with these two actions, like with this set of the analysis and with these two changes in the algorithm and the work of the system, the consumption of the idle consumption was decreased dramatically within one season. And I wouldn't definitely share the exact numbers, but you might understand the volume for the fleet of more than a few hundred buses, the idle consumption and total cost of this fuel that was before wasted. And in this situation, like the question asked right in the right moment, like what are the means to optimize the cost, okay, and going deeper, like what are the actual structure of the cost that may be optimized, and then how you can do this, and then using the technology both to monitor it and to improve it. That's how you pretty much make your business successful. So this was the case number one. The next story is about the situation when the team is actually focused on solving the main business problem they are targeting. So every business that wants to be successful, they need to be very focused on understanding the actual need, the actual fit to the market, and to push there as hard as they can to solve these problems. They need to understand what are the main points that they want to solve. This is very important for strategic development. This is very important for resource spending and etc. and for planning of this resource too. But the side effect of this is that sometimes, because of this focus, some of the challenges that business actually encounter are completely outside of the domain expertise of the team, because the team was built to solve the very specific problem, and this is good. And it was built to solve the secondary challenges that can come up with this main problem. But if you got a technology issue or business issue that is completely out of the area of the main domain, you might not have the needed expertise, and there is always the challenge of hiring the people in to solve to overcome just one challenge, or to do the contracting, to outsource the problem. And in this, especially if it's a technology problem, like hiring the new engineers for a short period of time is pretty challenging task. And this is exactly what was the problem one of our other clients encountered. They were building the system for that can enable any heavy truck to be autonomous or to do the autonomous driving of a certain level, and to analyze the road surface and to report the quality of the road surface, etc. So it was a setup of the system that can enhance any vehicle that was not actually designed by the manufacturer to have this ability to do this. And they were mainly focused on actual AI, artificial intelligence itself, the recognition of the surface damages, the road surface damages, the curves of the road, the actual environment around it, pretty complex algorithms. And they built a very good, brilliant team that was focused on this a lot, and they had a very good expertise. But the idea is that they were building the tool that is working with the video content gathered from the vehicle. That all the recognition was happening within the kind of video material that already received. And what they actually encountered is that It was working fine while some simple algorithms were running on board of the vehicle when the video was not transmitted to the cloud. But once they started to implement the enhanced and powerful algorithms that were cloud-based, they had to transfer the video from the vehicle to the backend and to do the analysis. And while they were actually planning for this and they were building a certain system, they encountered that on a big speed or in a remote areas or with the camera shaking and getting some shock, there is a lot of challenged moments in a video stream from technical perspective and in transferring the video from the vehicle to the cloud itself. So the part of the data was lost, the actual transmission was interrupted, the transmission speed was not enough to actually fulfill the live monitoring and etc. There was a lot of problems connected specifically with actually getting the video from the vehicle to the cloud. And the Air team was not actually built for it. They were very good professionals in terms of the client-facing applications. They were brilliant professionals in terms of artificial intelligence, but they didn't have people in the team who worked on a low-level video streaming issues. It was completely different technical area. And obviously they had an opportunity to try to find this very specific specialist and bring him into the team, but the timeline would be tremendous. The cost probably will be very big. And it is a pretty short-term engagement, but non-defined completely because it's certain part of the R&D. So you need to find a very expensive, potentially very expensive and very specific person to bring him on board for some unknown period of time and then to let him go, without actually having the contractual or relationship issues. It is obviously solvable, but is it actually something you would want to focus while you actually right now doing the business development of your rod recognition system? So they started to work with us specifically on this. We brought in few specialists that worked on a low level video streaming issues. We helped them to optimize the stream itself. We helped them to do the specific algorithm that was on a level of the video cards, was actually storing, like caching a part of the videos to verify that during the transmission part of this video was not lost, and if it was, the particular partitions of the video was sent further, and they helped to fix the final stream to actually fulfill those disruptions that were made because of the channel issues, like the data or the speed of the vehicle or camera shaking or whatever. So we helped with this, and this was a very good, like, nice engagement for like 3 months, and then afterwards we the team was dismissed, and we kept on relationship on the other issues and other projects together, but they pretty much removed those roadblock that was preventing them to actually start going to market with the solution that was very good on the other side. The next case I would want to talk is the situation when a big company wants to do a lot of work simultaneously, and but it's not a technology company in a perspective of software development. So there is a lot of business processes, there is a lot of department. We talk about the pretty big enterprise in the automotive OEM, and they have a lot of development on their side. But specifically for software development, there was like IT department that was fulfilling all the needs before this new program of new endeavor, I would say, they jump in, required actually multiple teams running in parallel, developing multiple software project that then they will be serving a lot of people on the plants of this OEM run among different countries. So there was pretty big software development project that needed a very specific approach to the management. To actually get all these projects run in parallel, to be the people and resource shared the most optimal way between these groups, to manage on each the delivery, the metrics, and etc. And if you think about it, there is like the team inside the company may even have the expertise of running the software project by itself, but running the portfolio of software projects together, managing and sharing the teams, keeping the knowledge, keeping the team retained, and developers interested and using their best knowledge to in the most optimized way from a perspective of the whole portfolio of the project, not just one of them. It is a specific task that needs a specific approach to the technical management, and this company never had it. While it was a pretty big enterprise, it was very specific experience, and just a few companies actually have it if they're not in a software development business. If you do real sector or even IT related services or the products, it doesn't mean you actually building a number of the software teams running in parallel. If it's and we talk about really big number of the teams and the code developed in parallel. While in our situation, that's actually the core of our business, and that's why we already have been working for them for a certain number of years. But this was a moment of those spike of new initiatives within them, and they were pretty happy. They don't need to change the vendor. They just we rearranged a bit the approach to the management. We fulfilled more, increased a bit the management layer, increased a bit the analysis layer we have built for them before, and we actually started running those parallel teams, and it worked pretty good. So by the end of the day, we ran for 6 teams that were working on more than 10 projects in parallel, and they were pretty satisfied, and they still are. So but if they would try to do this by themselves, like hiring different managers or just getting the people or the headcount and managing it by themselves, it may be quite a challenge to run a portfolio like this. So sometimes, again, if the core of your structure is focused on different things, it doesn't mean you need to educate yourself to do something that's not actually directly related to your business success. You just hire people who will do this for you. So we work on a different format and different approach for big and small clients, and we usually want to always address the business problem. That's why we have a pretty specific approach for the project that came in. We organize the discovery sessions, the business analysis phases, the system analysis phases, some proof of concepts analysis that can eliminate the technology risk. And if you want, you can try it by yourself. There is an option to subscribe for a few hours discovery call, and you can try looking how your business problem would look if we decompose it to technology, business, and operation solutions that may need for it, and go from there. Thank you.